Echoes of a Forgotten Genius. The Victor Hawthorne Story. In a small, cluttered room tucked away in a forgotten corner of the bustling city, an old man named Victor lived a life of solitude. The dim light filtering through the grimy window illuminated stacks of yellowed papers, crumpled blueprints, and half-finished inventions that filled the space. Each corner was a testament to the brilliance of a mind once celebrated, now eclipsed by time and the world's relentless march toward progress. Victor's frail frame sat hunched over a desk, his hands shaking as he traced the outlines of a device he had designed decades ago. The tremors of age made it difficult to maintain focus, but the fire of creativity still flickered within him, desperate to break free from the confines of his cluttered existence. The world outside his window was a marvel of technological advancement, a sharp contrast to the chaos of his room. Flying cars whizzed by, while drones zipped overhead, delivering packages with astonishing speed. People walked past with augmented reality glasses, immersed in digital experiences that connected them to the universe at their fingertips. Yet, in this whirlwind of innovation, Victor remained an invisible figure, a ghost of a forgotten genius whose contributions had been overshadowed by others. The irony was not lost on him. The very technologies that transformed lives had roots in his creations, yet no one knew his name or the legacy he had once built. Victor had not always been a recluse. In his youth, he was a brilliant inventor known for his revolutionary ideas that challenged the status quo. His inventions had sparked a wave of technological advancements that shaped industries and transformed daily life. However, a shadow loomed over his success. A particular invention, one that held the potential to change the world in unimaginable ways, had been stolen from him. It was an event that altered the course of his life, leaving him disillusioned and adrift in a sea of betrayal. The ache of that loss was still fresh, a haunting memory that lingered in the depths of his mind. As he rifled through the piles of papers, Victor stumbled upon an old photograph, a snapshot of a younger version of himself, standing proudly beside a prototype of his groundbreaking invention. A wave of nostalgia washed over him, accompanied by the bittersweet sting of regret. He remembered the excitement of sharing his ideas with the world, the hopeful faces of collaborators who believed in his vision. But that hope had been shattered when he discovered that his creation had been co-opted by those who sought fame and fortune, leaving him behind in obscurity. The room echoed with the silence of forgotten dreams, interrupted only by the faint sound of his breathing. Victor's heart ached as he reflected on the trajectory of his life. It was a life filled with potential, yet marred by the betrayal that had led him to this moment. He had poured his soul into every invention, every design, yet now they sat abandoned, gathering dust like the memories of a world that once revered him. Despite the passage of time, Victor's mind remained sharp, filled with ideas that swirled like a storm. He was determined to reclaim his legacy, to prove to the world that he still had something to offer. Yet the question loomed large. How could he break through the barriers of anonymity and obscurity? The innovations that had once captured the imagination of society were now mere footnotes in a history that had moved on without him. In the quiet solitude of his room, Victor began to sketch a new idea, one that would not only pay homage to his past, but also push the boundaries of technology in a way that had never been done before. With each stroke of the pencil, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. This invention would be different. It would not be stolen or misappropriated. He would safeguard it with every ounce of strength he had left, ensuring that this time it would be recognized for its true potential. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across his workspace, Victor knew that he was on the brink of something extraordinary. The world outside continued to thrive, but he was ready to re-enter it, armed with the wisdom of experience and the passion of his youth. He could feel the electricity in the air, a sense that change was imminent. The mystery of the forgotten genius was about to unfold, and Victor was determined to reclaim his place in a world that had long since forgotten him. With his heart pounding and determination ignited, Victor began to transform his sketches into blueprints, pouring his heart and soul into each detail. He envisioned a device that would harness renewable energy in a way that was both practical and revolutionary. This invention would not only address pressing global issues but also serve as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a symbol of hope in a world that often overlooked the contributions of those who came before. As he worked late into the night, surrounded by the remnants of his past, Victor felt a flicker excitement. The shadows that had once loomed over him began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. He was not just an old man living in a cluttered room. He was a creator, a visionary who had the power to inspire change once more. The forgotten genius was ready to rise from the ashes, ready to reclaim his narrative and remind the world of the brilliance that had been hidden away for far too long. And as the first rays of dawn broke through the window, illuminating the chaos of his workspace, Victor knew that his time had come. The world may have forgotten him, but he was about to remind them of the potential that lay within the heart of an inventor. With each passing day, he would work tirelessly to breathe life into his creation, determined to step out of the shadows and into the light once more. In a small rural town nestled between rolling hills and sprawling fields, young Victor discovered his love for mechanics and physics at an early age. Growing up in a modest home filled with the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers, he spent countless hours tinkering in the backyard shed, a sanctuary where his imagination could run wild. The shed, with its creaky wooden door and faded paint, was filled with tools that seemed almost magical to him. Rusty wrenches, worn-out screwdrivers, and bits of scrap metal became the building blocks of his early inventions. From a young age, Victor exhibited a natural curiosity that set him apart from his peers. While other children played with toys and games, he found joy in dismantling and reassembling household items. A broken clock became a puzzle to solve, an old bicycle frame transformed into a makeshift catapult. His ability to see potential where others saw trash sparked both admiration and bewilderment among his friends and family. While they played outside, Victor often chose to immerse himself in books about mechanics and physics, devouring the words as if they were a feast for his eager mind. His father, a humble farmer, worked tirelessly to provide for the family. He was a practical man who valued hard work and perseverance. Despite his father's demanding schedule, he always made time to encourage Victor's curiosity. The elder Victor would often find his son deep in thought, surrounded by a chaotic assortment of tools and half-finished projects. Rather than scolding him for the mess, he would sit beside him, sharing stories of his own youth when he had dreamed of inventing things that could make life easier for the family. One day, after finding Victor trying to build a small windmill out of scrap wood, his father knelt down beside him. "You know, son," he said, "when I was your age, I had a dream to create a machine that could help us farm more efficiently. It never quite worked out, but that didn't stop me from trying." His father's words resonated deeply with Victor, planting the seeds of inspiration and determination in his heart. Encouragement also came from an unexpected source, a retired engineer named Mr. Thompson who lived down the road. The old man had spent his life working on innovative projects in the city and had moved to the countryside to enjoy a quieter existence. Victor would often watch Mr. Thompson as he tended to his garden, his hands deftly working the soil. Intrigued by the man's knowledge and experience, Victor would bring him small gadgets he had created, seeking feedback and advice. Mr. Thompson became a mentor to Victor, nurturing his budding interest in mechanics. The two would spend hours discussing concepts like energy, motion, and the principles of design. Mr. Thompson shared stories of his inventions, detailing the trials and errors that came with each creation. Every failed attempt brings you one step closer to success, Victor, he would say, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. This advice became a guiding principle for Victor, instilling in him the resilience to keep pushing forward despite setbacks. As the seasons changed, so did Victor's projects. In the spring, he built a simple irrigation system to help his father's crops thrive. With bits of hose and old buckets, he created a solution that captured rainwater and directed it to the garden. His father marveled at the ingenuity and practicality of the invention, which not only made their farming more efficient, but also highlighted Victor's growing skills. By the time he reached his teenage years, Victor's reputation as the town's little inventor had begun to spread. He organized small exhibitions in the local community center, showcasing his creations. His classmates would gather around, wide-eyed with amazement, as he demonstrated his latest projects: a solar-powered lantern, a model of a wind turbine, or a miniature water pump. The thrill of sharing his ideas with others fueled Victor's passion even further, driving him to innovate and explore new possibilities. However, the path of creativity was not always smooth. As Victor's ambitions grew, he faced challenges that tested his resolve. His peers, though fascinated by his talents, sometimes regarded him with jealousy or disdain. "Why don't you just be normal, like the rest of us?" they would taunt, trying to fit him into a mold he never wanted to occupy. Yet, Victor remained undeterred, fueled by the support of his family and Mr. Thompson. When Victor turned 16, he decided to enter a regional science fair, a decision that would change his life forever. With Mr. Thompson's guidance, he designed a more sophisticated invention, an automated irrigation system that could detect moisture levels in the soil and water crops accordingly. It was a project that combined all the skills he had developed over the years. Victor spent countless nights refining his design, pouring his heart into every detail. On the day of the fair, excitement coursed through him as he set up his display. The room buzzed with energy as other young inventors showcased their projects. Victor felt a mix of anxiety and hope as judges moved from booth to booth, examining the creativity and effort behind each entry. When it was finally his turn, he presented his irrigation system with enthusiasm, explaining how it could revolutionize farming practices in their region. To his astonishment, Victor won first place. The judges praised his innovation and practical application, declaring it a standout among the entries. The news spread quickly through the small town, elevating Victor's status from the quirky boy tinkering in his backyard to a local hero. With the prize money he received, he dreamed of expanding his work and pursuing an education in engineering. In the months that followed, Victor's life began to change. He received scholarship offers from local universities, eager to nurture his talent. His father beamed with pride, his heart swelling with joy at the thought of his son realizing his dreams. Mr. Thompson, too, celebrated the achievement, telling Victor that this was just the beginning. "You have a bright future ahead, my boy," he said, clapping Victor on the shoulder. "Just remember to stay true to yourself and never lose that spark of curiosity." Victor left the small town, but the lessons he learned and the support he received would remain with him throughout his journey. The early years of fascination with mechanics had shaped him into the inventor he aspired to be, instilling in him a sense of purpose and a desire to make a difference in the world. Little did he know that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, including the very betrayal that would haunt him later. But in that moment, with the taste of success fresh on his tongue, he felt invincible, ready to embrace the opportunities that awaited him. As he embarked on this new chapter, Victor carried with him the dreams of his childhood, the encouragement of his family, and the wisdom of his mentor. The forgotten genius was no longer just a boy in a small town. He was on the brink of greatness, armed with the knowledge that innovation is often born from curiosity, resilience, and the unwavering support of those who believe in you. The journey ahead would be long and winding, but it would ultimately lead him to a destiny that would change not only his life, but the lives of countless others as well. As Victor settled into his new life at university, he immersed himself in his studies, absorbing everything he could about engineering and innovation. The campus buzzed with energy and creativity, and Victor felt invigorated by the presence of other passionate individuals. Late nights in the lab, filled with the sound of clinking tools and animated discussions, fueled his ambition. But amidst the excitement, a yearning to create something groundbreaking stirred within him a desire to change the world. One evening, while studying the principles of sustainable energy, Victor stumbled upon a concept that ignited his imagination. The idea of harnessing renewable energy in a way that was both efficient and accessible began to take shape in his mind. He envisioned a new form of energy generation, a compact, scalable device that could transform natural energy sources into usable power. This device could revolutionize industries, providing a sustainable alternative to traditional energy systems. With a sense of urgency and exhilaration, Victor set to work. He filled notebooks with sketches, equations, and notes about potential designs. Hours turned into days as he poured his heart into refining the idea, exploring materials and technology that could bring his vision to life. He called it the eco-engine, a device that could capture energy from wind, sun, and water and convert it into a clean, efficient power source. However, as he began to develop prototypes, the reality of his situation set in. Victor faced skepticism from some of his peers and professors. "It's ambitious, but can it really work?" they would ask, their faces a mix of curiosity and doubt. Though their concerns were valid, each question only fueled his determination. He knew that groundbreaking ideas often faced resistance before they could flourish. The university's resources were limited, and Victor often found himself scouring the campus for discarded materials to use in his prototypes. He spent long nights in the lab, crafting makeshift devices out of whatever he could find. His dorm room became a chaotic workspace, littered with wires, batteries, and half-finished models. Friends worried he was burning out, but Victor felt invigorated, his passion driving him forward. Amidst the creative chaos, whispers of his project began to spread beyond the campus. News of the young inventor working on a sustainable energy solution caught the attention of a powerful corporation, Detaching Innovations. The company was known for its advancements in renewable energy, but their reputation was marred by a history of aggressive tactics, including sabotaging competitors. Victor had always admired their work from afar, but he soon learned that admiration could turn to predation. One fateful day, Victor received an email from a green tech executive expressing interest in his project. They had heard about the eco-engine and wanted to discuss a potential partnership. At first, Victor was elated. This could be the opportunity he had dreamed of. But as he read between the lines, a knot of unease formed in his stomach. GreenTech had a reputation for acquiring promising innovations, only to bury them if they posed a threat to their own products. After a tense meeting with the executive, Victor walked away feeling conflicted. The executive praised his work, but there was an underlying current of pressure that made Victor uneasy. "We could help you take this to the next level," the executive had said, his voice smooth and persuasive. "Imagine the resources and expertise we could provide." The offer was tempting, but Victor felt a sense of foreboding. He had seen how the corporation had stifled innovation in the past. Determined to protect his idea, Victor continued to refine the eco-engine in secret. He enlisted the help of a few trusted friends, all of whom believed in his vision. Together, they spent countless hours experimenting, troubleshooting, and perfecting the design. As they worked, they felt the weight of the world on their shoulders, knowing that the success of the eco-engine could either uplift or destroy their aspirations. As the prototypes began to show promise, Victor's resolve hardened. He refused to let his groundbreaking invention fall into the hands of a corporation that might use it for profit without regard for its potential impact on the world. Late one night, fueled by determination and caffeine, Victor had an epiphany. He would need to think beyond the confines of the university and seek out investors who shared his vision for a sustainable future. He reached out to local entrepreneurs and environmental organizations, pitching his idea and showing them his prototypes. With each presentation, Victor's passion became contagious. People began to rally behind him, offering support and resources. The eco-engine was no longer just an idea, it was becoming a movement. As word spread, Victor gained recognition in the local community, and soon he found himself invited to speak at conferences and gatherings. His story inspired many students, entrepreneurs, and activists alike. Yet, as he gained traction, so did the interest from GreenTech. The corporation sent representatives to his events, trying to sway the audience with promises of funding and resources. Tensions rose as Victor navigated this new reality. The more attention the eco-engine garnered, the more aggressive GreenTech became in their pursuit. They began to employ tactics to undermine his efforts, attempting to discredit his work and sow doubt among his supporters. Rumors circulated that Victor was merely a fad, that his invention would never live up to its potential. Despite the mounting pressure, Victor held firm. He focused on building his network and refining the eco-engine, driven by a vision of a world where sustainable energy was accessible to everyone. With his loyal friends by his side, he became more determined to bring his invention to life. Each setback became a catalyst for innovation, pushing him to think creatively and resourcefully. One evening, as they worked late in the lab, Victor received a call from a fellow inventor he admired. This inventor, a pioneer in green technology, had heard about the eco-engine and wanted to meet. "I believe in your vision, Victor," the inventor said. "Let's talk about how we can collaborate to make this a reality." That meeting marked a turning point. With newfound support and expertise, Victor began to realize the full potential of the eco-engine. As the months passed, he and his team worked tirelessly to fine-tune the design, integrating feedback and ideas from their network. Each iteration brought them closer to a product that could genuinely change lives. However, the shadow of GreenTech loomed larger than ever. The corporation recognized the threat Victor posed and began to take more aggressive steps. A high-stakes game of cat and mouse unfolded, with Victor and his team working day and night to protect their invention from being co-opted or sabotaged. The pressure intensified, but so did Victor's resolve. He realized that the eco-engine was not just a project, it was a mission to change the narrative around sustainable energy. He would not let greed and corporate interests dictate the future. Instead, he envisioned a world where innovation thrived in harmony with nature, where the eco-engine could empower communities and foster a sustainable way of life. As Victor faced the challenges ahead, he drew strength from the belief that true innovation comes from the heart. The journey was fraught with uncertainty, but he was determined to see it through. With each step forward, he felt the weight of responsibility, not just for himself, but for the future he hoped to create. Victor's story was just beginning, and the fight for the eco-engine would define the course of his life. He had emerged as a beacon of hope in a world overshadowed by corporate greed, armed with a groundbreaking idea that could revolutionize industries. With the support of his friends, mentors, and a growing community of believers, he prepared to take on the challenges ahead, ready to unleash the power of innovation for the greater good. Victor's journey took an unexpected turn when he met Liam, a savvy businessman with a knack for spotting innovative ideas. They connected over coffee one afternoon, where Victor passionately shared his vision for the eco-engine. Liam listened intently, nodding with enthusiasm as Victor outlined the technology's potential. The promise of collaboration felt invigorating, and Victor was hopeful that he had found the ally he needed to elevate his invention to the next level. As their partnership began, Victor felt a wave of relief wash over him. Liam introduced him to influential contacts and promised to help secure funding for further development. Together, they attended meetings, pitched the eco-engine to potential investors, and brainstormed marketing strategies. Victor's hope grew as they secured a small investment, giving him the resources to build a more refined prototype. However, as time passed, subtle changes began to unsettle Victor. Liam started taking more control over the project, often sidelining Victor during meetings with investors. "It's just business, Victor," Liam would say, brushing off Victor's concern. "We need to present a united front." Victor's gut churned with unease, but he trusted Liam's experience and hoped he was just overreacting. The breakthrough moment came when they presented the eco-engine at a major tech conference. The buzz surrounding their invention was electric, and Victor felt the thrill of validation wash over him. But after the event, Victor noticed that Liam had arranged for the presentation to be recorded, and they shared clips on social media without including Victor's name. The posts highlighted Liam's role and painted him as the driving force behind the invention. Confusion turned to anger as Victor's feelings of betrayal grew. He had poured his heart and soul into the eco-engine, yet here he was, reduced to a mere footnote in the story of his own creation. Despite his discomfort, he remained hopeful that they could rectify the situation. But when he approached Liam about the lack of acknowledgement, he was met with indifference. "We need to protect our brand," Liam insisted. "Your name doesn't matter as much as the product itself." Victor was devastated. He had always believed that passion and integrity would triumph over corporate greed, but the reality was proving otherwise. As the days passed, he sensed a darker agenda at play. Meetings with potential investors grew more secretive, and Victor felt increasingly excluded from decisions that directly impacted the eco-engine's future. His suspicions were confirmed when he overheard a conversation between Liam and a group of executives from Detaching Innovations. They spoke in hushed tones, their words laced with intrigue. Victor's heart raced as he pieced together the fragments of their discussion. Liam was positioning himself as the inventor of the eco-engine, presenting Victor's work as a mere concept that he had brought to life. The betrayal cut deep. Victor felt as if he were watching a slow-motion train wreck, powerless to stop it. He had trusted Liam with his dream, and now it felt as if that trust had been shattered beyond repair. Torn between despair and anger, Victor confronted Liam one last time. "You can't just steal my work, Liam. This is my life's passion." But Liam met his anger with a cold, calculating demeanor. "You think they'll care about your story? The eco-engine has potential, and I'm the one bringing it to market. If you don't want to play ball, that's your choice." With those words, Victor realized that his partner was not just a business associate, he had become an antagonist, willing to sacrifice their friendship for profit. Feeling isolated and helpless, Victor retreated to his cluttered workspace. Surrounded by blueprints and notes, he fought back tears. The emotional toll was immense. The eco-engine represented not just an invention, but years of hard work, late nights, and unwavering belief. It was a piece of his soul, and watching it slip away felt like losing a part of himself. In the following weeks, the situation escalated. Detaching announced their plans to unveil a product eerily similar to the eco-engine, heavily marketed as a groundbreaking innovation developed by Liam. News articles hailed it as a game-changer, while Victor's heart sank further into despair. The feeling of betrayal morphed into a deep sense of loss, and he wrestled with the fear that he would be erased from the narrative of his own creation. Victor knew he had to act. Though he felt utterly defeated, he couldn't allow Liam and Detaching to steal everything he had worked for. He began researching legal options to protect his invention, combing through patents and intellectual property laws. The process was exhausting, but he was fueled by a flicker of hope. He refused to let the eco-engine die without a fight. With the support of a few loyal friends, Victor gathered evidence of his invention's development, including sketches, prototypes, and communication records with Liam. He pored over documents, meticulously compiling a timeline that showcased his contributions. With each piece of evidence, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, a drive to reclaim his narrative. As the launch date for GreenTech's product approached, Victor intensified his efforts. He reached out to legal experts who specialized in intellectual property, determined to seek justice for the theft he had endured. In the back of his mind, he still held hope that the truth would prevail, that the world would recognize his story amidst the corporate narrative. On the day of the product launch, Victor found himself torn between dread and anticipation. The event was being broadcasted live, and he couldn't bear the thought of watching Liam take credit for his life's work. But deep down, he knew he had to confront the situation head-on. As the presentation began, Victor's heart raced. Liam stood confidently on stage, showcasing the eco-engine with charisma and flair. He spoke about its revolutionary features, painting a picture of innovation that was both thrilling and painful to watch. Victor felt a storm of emotions surge within him: anger, betrayal, but most of all, a profound sadness for what could have been. However, as the presentation progressed, Victor felt a stirring of resolve within him. The eco-engine was not just Liam's creation, it was his, and he would not be silenced. With a newfound determination, he stood up, heart pounding, and walked out of the shadows. The moment he stepped into the spotlight, a hush fell over the audience. All eyes turned to him, and for the first time in months, Victor felt a surge of clarity. "This is not just a product, it is my life's work," he declared, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I am the inventor of the eco-engine, and I will not let it be claimed by someone who doesn't understand its true purpose." Gasps echoed through the crowd as Victor recounted his journey, detailing the countless hours he had invested in developing the eco-engine. He spoke candidly about his partnership with Liam and the betrayal he had experienced. His words resonated deeply with the audience, who began to realize the weight of the injustice unfolding before them. Victor's bravery sparked a wave of support. People began to rise, clapping and cheering, urging him to reclaim his story. As Liam's confidence wavered, Victor continued to share his vision for the eco-engine, a vision rooted in sustainability and empowerment, not profit. In that moment, he felt the tide turning, the tide of hope washing away the pain of betrayal. While the confrontation didn't resolve the legal battles ahead, it marked the beginning of a new chapter for Victor. His story became a rallying cry for aspiring inventors and entrepreneurs, reminding them of the importance of integrity and passion in the face of adversity. The battle for the eco-engine was far from over, but Victor was ready to fight, not just for himself, but for everyone who dared to dream. Victor sat in the dim light of his cluttered apartment, the echoes of a vibrant world outside amplifying his solitude. The days had merged into one another, marked only by the flickering of the old fluorescent bulb overhead and the steady rhythm of passing traffic beyond his window. He watched from the sidelines as the city celebrated the very invention he had poured his heart and soul into the eco-engine. But it was not he, Victor, who basked in the glow of recognition. No, that honor belonged to Liam, his former partner, who now stood as the face of innovation and progress. As each day passed, Victor felt the weight of bitterness settle deeper into his bones. He would catch snippets of conversations in the coffee shop across the street, where people gushed over the eco-engine's impact on the environment. They spoke of it as if it were a gift to humanity, an idea birthed from the mind of someone noble and deserving. But they were unaware of the truth lurking beneath the surface. They didn't know about the late nights Victor had spent sketching designs or the sacrifices he had made to bring that invention to life. They didn't know that the heart and soul of the eco-engine had been his long before it became a corporate success. The loneliness pressed against him like a weight. He had once been filled with hope and ambition, a creator who dreamed of changing the world. Now, he was just a ghost in his own life, watching the fruits of his labor flourish while he remained shackled to obscurity. The poverty that clung to him was not just financial, it seeped into his spirit, dulling the spark of creativity that had once burned bright within him. But amidst the shadows of his despair, a flicker of determination remained. Each morning, Victor would rise, fueled by an unshakable urge to create. He knew that no one would applaud his efforts, no one would come knocking at his door with opportunities. The world had moved on, but he still had the drive to invent. The act of creation itself became his solace, a way to reclaim a part of himself that had been stolen. He would spend hours in his workshop, surrounded by scraps of metal and old circuit boards, transforming them into something new. Sometimes, he crafted simple devices like a better way to keep food fresh, or a more efficient light bulb, nothing that would garner any attention, but everything that brought him joy. With every invention, he felt a piece of the bitterness slowly ebb away. He was reminded that, although the world had forgotten him, he could still remember who he was. In the quiet solitude of his workspace, Victor found comfort in the rhythm of his hands working the tools. The clanging of metal against metal became a melody of resilience. He poured his emotions into each creation, infusing them with a sense of purpose. They may never change the world like the eco-engine had, but they were his born from his imagination, his struggles, and his undying passion. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Victor's body may have weakened, but his spirit remained unbroken. He found strength in the most unlikely of places, his dreams. Each night, before drifting off to sleep, he would close his eyes and visualize the inventions he could still create. He envisioned a world where his ideas could flourish, where he could share them without fear of theft or betrayal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Victor found himself working on a new project, a small wind turbine designed for individual homes. It was simple, yet he believed it could empower people to generate their own energy. As he carefully connected wires and calibrated the components, he felt a surge of excitement. This was what he lived for, the act of bringing ideas to life, no matter how small. But amidst the excitement, doubt crept in. Would this too be ignored? Would it end up buried beneath the weight of indifference? Victor had no answers, but he pressed on. He was no longer inventing for recognition. He was doing it for himself. It was his rebellion against a world that had turned its back on him. One morning, Victor decided to take a step outside his apartment, a venture he rarely undertook. As he wandered through the streets, he saw people rushing about, their faces illuminated by the glow of their smartphones. They were oblivious to the struggles of those around them, caught up in a world driven by innovation and success. Yet, amidst the hustle and bustle, he saw a small community garden nestled between two buildings. Curious, he approached, noticing children laughing as they played and neighbors exchanging stories. The sight warmed his heart, reminding him that despite the darkness he felt, there was still light in the world. It was a testament to resilience, people banding together to create something beautiful amidst the chaos. Inspired, Victor returned to his workshop with renewed energy. He realized that even if his inventions didn't garner fame, they could still make a difference in someone's life. Days turned into weeks, and he immersed himself in his work. He began sharing his creations online, uploading videos and tutorials on a small platform, hoping to reach a handful of curious souls. The response was minimal at first, but slowly, people began to take notice. Comments trickled in, expressing gratitude for his simple yet effective designs. Victor felt a sense of fulfillment he hadn't known in years. It was a reminder that even in obscurity, he could still connect with others and make an impact. As his online presence grew, so did his confidence. He received messages from people inspired by his journey, young inventors, engineers, and enthusiasts eager to learn from his experiences. They reached out with questions and ideas, asking for advice on their own projects. For the first time in a long time, Victor felt a sense of belonging. He was no longer just a forgotten genius. He was part of a community. In the years that followed, Victor continued to create and share. His inventions remained simple, but their reach expanded beyond the confines of his small apartment. He began collaborating with local schools, teaching children about mechanics and the joy of creating. His heart swelled with pride as he watched young minds light up with curiosity, each question igniting the same passion he had felt as a child. One afternoon, as he sat in a classroom filled with eager young inventors, he realized that he had finally found his purpose. It wasn't about reclaiming his name or recognition, it was about nurturing the next generation of creators. The legacy he had once thought lost began to take shape in the laughter and ideas of those around him. Victor's life transformed from one of solitude and bitterness to a tapestry woven with connections and hope. His story, once marred by betrayal and loss, became a narrative of resilience and renewal. Though he remained in obscurity, he had found his place in a world that, while not always kind, was filled with potential. In the quiet moments of the evening, as he closed his workshop and looked out at the city skyline, Victor felt a sense of peace wash over him. The eco-engine may have brought him pain, but it had also given rise to a new chapter 1 defined by growth, compassion, and the unwavering spirit of innovation. In the vibrant pulse of the city, amidst the towering skyscrapers and the unyielding march of technology, a young journalist named Clara found herself entangled in a story that was both obscure and profoundly significant. As an aspiring reporter, she had always been drawn to tales of innovation and progress. But this time, her pursuit of truth would take her down a winding path of forgotten genius. Clara was investigating the history of the eco-engine, a revolutionary invention credited to the charismatic entrepreneur Liam Donovan. As she combed through articles and reports, something felt off. The narrative surrounding the eco-engine was too polished, too perfect. It didn't add up. Her instincts kicked in, and she decided to dig deeper. Her search began in the dusty archives of the local library, where she pored over old newspapers and patents. Among the yellowed pages, Clara stumbled upon a mention of an inventor who had been pivotal in the eco-engine's development, a name long overshadowed by the bright persona of Liam. Victor Hawthorne. The mention sparked something in Clara. Who was this man, and why had he vanished from the story? Determined to uncover the truth, Clara sought out anyone who might have known Victor. Her first lead was an old engineer, a grizzled man who had worked alongside Victor in the early days of the eco-engine's development. He lived in a modest home filled with relics of the past. As they spoke, Clara listened intently as he recounted the late nights spent in Victor's workshop, brainstorming and building prototypes. The engineer's eyes lit up with admiration when he spoke of Victor's brilliance, contrasting sharply with the dark undertone of betrayal that hung over their conversation. He had ideas that could change the world, the engineer said, a hint of sorrow in his voice. But when the company got involved, everything changed. They took everything from him. Clara felt a surge of determination. She had to find Victor. If this inventor had been robbed of his legacy, she would make sure his story was told. Her next stop was to dig through more archives, focusing on patents filed around the time the eco-engine was created. What she found sent shivers down her spine. Hidden among the documents were blueprints and sketches with Victor's name boldly emblazoned at the top. The evidence was irrefutable. Victor was the true architect of the eco-engine. As Clara continued her investigation, she reached out to witnesses who remembered Victor's contributions. An elderly woman who ran a local cafe recalled seeing Victor frequently, sketching designs on napkins, lost in thought. She described how he would light up when discussing his ideas, a stark contrast to the shadow that now loomed over his name. Clara's findings began to create a ripple effect. As she published her initial articles, interest surged. Social media buzzed with her revelations, and readers expressed outrage at the idea that a genius had been cast aside while his work was celebrated by another. Clara felt a sense of responsibility growing. She was not just a journalist anymore, but a voice for the voiceless. As public interest grew, so did Clara's resolve. She organized a community event to bring together those who had known Victor and anyone interested in his story. The gathering was small but passionate. Each person shared their memories, and the room buzzed with the collective energy of people reclaiming a narrative that had been silenced for too long. With every piece of information Clara uncovered, the official narrative of the eco-engine began to crack. Discussions turned heated as more people questioned the authenticity of Liam Donovan's claims. News outlets started picking up Clara's story, and soon, the scandal surrounding the eco-engine found itself at the forefront of public discourse. The tension reached a boiling point when Clara secured an interview with Victor himself. She had managed to track him down in the small apartment where he lived, hidden away from the world. The moment was surreal. Clara could hardly contain her excitement as she prepared to meet the man whose life had been turned upside down by betrayal. Victor appeared frail, but there was a spark of intelligence in his eyes that captivated Clara. She could sense a mixture of bitterness and hope within him as they spoke. For the first time in years, Victor felt seen. Clara's questions prompted him to recount his journey, the joy of creation, and the pain of losing it all. With each word, Victor shed the weight of his obscurity. Their conversation soon turned to the future. Victor spoke passionately about his remaining projects and the potential they held. Clara realized that this story was more than just about the past. It was about redemption and hope. Together, they would not only reclaim Victor's legacy, but also inspire others to believe in the power of innovation and perseverance. As Clara's articles circulated, public outcry grew louder. Social media campaigns surged, demanding recognition for Victor. People rallied to his side, sharing their own stories of overlooked creators and innovators. It was a movement, one that caught the attention of major news outlets and industry leaders. Suddenly, Victor found himself at the center of a storm that was both overwhelming and exhilarating. Clara became his advocate, guiding him through interviews and public appearances. The world began to pay attention to the inventor who had been forgotten, and with each passing day, Victor's story gained momentum. In the backdrop of this whirlwind, Victor remained grounded. He began to reflect on the lessons learned from his painful journey. While the world recognized him now, he understood that his worth was not solely defined by accolades or inventions. It was about the impact he could make, the lives he could touch through his knowledge and creativity. Clara's relentless pursuit of the truth had sparked a revolution, a reclamation of the narrative that had long been buried. The community embraced Victor, not just as an inventor, but as a symbol of resilience. They honored him not only for the eco-engine, but for his unwavering spirit in the face of adversity. In the end, Victor's journey became a testament to the power of redemption. Through Clara's tenacity and the support of a community hungry for change, the forgotten genius was finally acknowledged. The world had come to realize that the story of innovation is not just about the inventions themselves, but about the people behind them, their struggles, their triumphs, and their unyielding desire to make a difference. Victor's story was no longer one of betrayal and loss. It had evolved into a narrative of hope, transformation, and the resilience of the human spirit. And as he looked out at the world that had once turned its back on him, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was not just his redemption. It was a reminder to all that every voice matters and every story deserves to be told. As the story of Victor Hawthorne began to unfold in the public eye, a wave of fascination swept across the nation. News outlets, blogs, and social media platforms buzzed with excitement, each recounting the tale of the forgotten inventor whose brilliance had been overshadowed by corporate greed. Clara's relentless investigation had not only unearthed the truth, but had ignited a movement to recognize Victor's contributions to the world of innovation. Victor found himself thrust into the spotlight. Invitations poured in from conferences, universities, and tech fairs, where he was asked to speak about his journey, his inventions, and the lessons learned through adversity. For a man who had spent years in the shadows, it was both exhilarating and bewildering. As he stood in front of eager audiences, sharing his story, he could feel the warmth of their support. It was as if the weight of years of obscurity was slowly lifting, replaced by a sense of validation. Yet, beneath the accolades and applause, Victor grappled with an internal conflict. Would this newfound recognition truly heal the wounds inflicted by betrayal? As he spoke to audiences, he could see their admiration, but it also served as a reminder of the pain he had endured. He had poured his heart and soul into his work, only to have it snatched away. Even as people celebrated his achievements, the scars of his past were still fresh. The acknowledgement felt good, but it couldn't erase the bitterness he had carried for so long. One evening, after a speaking engagement, Clara found Victor sitting alone in a quiet corner of the venue, his face pensive. She joined him, sensing the weight of his thoughts. "You've done so much to bring your story to light," she said softly. "You should be proud of how far you've come." Victor sighed, looking out at the city lights twinkling in the distance. "It's strange, Clara. I should feel fulfilled, but there's a part of me that's still hurting. Recognition is wonderful, but it doesn't change what happened. I can't help but think of all the years I spent in silence." Clara nodded, understanding the complexity of his emotions. "You're not just receiving recognition, you're reclaiming your legacy. This is about more than just you. It's about everyone who's ever been overlooked or marginalized. Your story has the power to inspire change." As they spoke, Victor reflected on the nature of success. Was it merely about the accolades, or was it about the impact one had on the world? In his heart, he knew the latter held more significance. Success was not just measured in applause or recognition, but in the lives touched by one's work. It was a lesson he had learned the hard way. The weeks turned into months, and the media frenzy showed no signs of waning. Victor continued to share his story, speaking to students, entrepreneurs, and anyone willing to listen. With each engagement, he found himself healing, learning to embrace the acknowledgement while still honoring the lessons of his past. He realized that while he could not change what had happened, he could shape the future. Then came an unexpected twist. A renowned university offered him a position as a guest lecturer in the engineering department. The idea of mentoring young minds thrilled Victor, reigniting the passion for teaching that had once burned brightly in his heart. He accepted the position, viewing it as an opportunity not only to share his knowledge, but to guide the next generation of innovators. As he stepped into the classroom for the first time, he felt a mix of nerves and excitement. The students, wide-eyed and eager, hung on his every word as he recounted his journey. In their faces, he saw reflections of his younger self, curious, ambitious, and ready to change the world. This was the legacy he had always wanted, to inspire others to pursue their dreams, to be brave enough to innovate, and to stand firm against adversity. Victor's journey of redemption had come full circle. No longer was he just a forgotten genius. He had become a beacon of hope for aspiring inventors. Through mentorship, he could influence lives in ways that accolades alone could never accomplish. The pain of betrayal was still a part of him, but it no longer defined his existence. Instead, it fueled his desire to ensure that others would not suffer the same fate he had. In time, Victor found peace. He understood that success was not solely about personal achievements, but also about the impact one leaves behind. He had the power to change the narrative for future innovators, guiding them toward ethical practices and emphasizing the importance of integrity in their work. As he sat in his lecture hall, surrounded by eager minds, Victor couldn't help but smile. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but it had led him to a place of fulfillment. He was no longer the forgotten inventor. He was a mentor, a leader, and an advocate for truth. In the end, the story of Victor Hawthorne was a testament to resilience, the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity, and the transformative power of truth. He had not only reclaimed his legacy, but had also paved the way for others to shine. As he looked out at the bright futures ahead of his students, he felt a sense of hope that echoed through the ages, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of innovation and integrity could illuminate the path forward. Victor Hawthorne's passing marked the end of an era, but it also heralded the beginning of a new legacy. In the months that followed, the world mourned the loss of a brilliant mind whose innovations had once been hidden in the shadows. Yet rather than fading into obscurity once more, Victor's contributions surged back into the spotlight, igniting the imaginations of creators around the globe. The announcement of his passing sparked a renewed interest in his work. Universities began to curate exhibitions showcasing his inventions, highlighting the groundbreaking ideas he had developed. Scholars and students alike gathered to study his blueprints, notes, and prototypes, finding inspiration in his relentless pursuit of knowledge and innovation. The message was clear. Victor had not just been an inventor, he was a visionary who had laid the groundwork for the future of technology. Among those inspired by Victor's life was a new generation of inventors and entrepreneurs. Young minds who had once felt discouraged by the complexities of innovation now looked to him as a beacon of hope. They admired his resilience, his unwavering passion for creativity, and his refusal to give up even in the face of betrayal. Workshops and hackathons began to spring up, named in Victor's honor, encouraging collaboration and creativity among aspiring inventors. Schools introduced curricula that celebrated not only the technical aspects of invention, but also the ethical considerations that Victor had come to embody. Students were encouraged to think critically about the implications of their work, to understand the importance of integrity, and to realize that true success comes from uplifting others, not just oneself. Victor's story became a crucial part of these lessons, teaching young innovators about the moral responsibilities that come with their abilities. The media, too, played a significant role in ensuring that Victor's name was remembered among the great inventors of history. Documentaries were produced, chronicling his life and contributions, featuring interviews with Clara and others who had known him. These narratives emphasized not just his inventions, but also the man behind them, a compassionate, determined individual who had faced immense challenges, yet remained dedicated to his passion for innovation. As more people learned about Victor's life, his legacy began to solidify in the annals of history. In the years that followed, Victor's foundation continued to thrive, promoting scholarships and funding initiatives for young inventors. His vision of empowering others became a driving force for many projects aimed at solving pressing societal issues, from renewable energy solutions to advancements in healthcare technology. The foundation embodied his spirit, fostering a community of creators dedicated to making the world a better place. Victor's name eventually found its rightful place in museums, alongside the likes of Tesla, Edison, and Curie. His inventions, once relegated to obscurity, were celebrated for their ingenuity and vision. Statues and plaques were erected in his honor, serving as a reminder of the enduring impact one individual can have on the world. As the years turned into decades, stories of Victor Hawthorne became part of the collective consciousness. People spoke of him not just as a brilliant inventor, but as a symbol of resilience and hope. His life taught that success is not solely measured by accolades or recognition, but by the difference one can make in the lives of others. In the quiet corners of innovation labs and bustling classrooms, young inventors would often share stories of Victor's legacy. They spoke of his struggles and triumphs, drawing strength from his journey. The echoes of his life served as a constant reminder that even in the darkest of times, innovation and integrity could illuminate the path forward. The world that had once forgotten Victor Hawthorne now remembered him with reverence. His story became a source of inspiration, a testament to the idea that one person, through resilience, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to their passions, can change the world. And as new generations continued to dream, create, and innovate, the legacy of Victor Hawthorne lived on, woven into the very fabric of progress and hope for the future.